There you go. All right, now.
Live.
Yep. Now you can just go to it and hit it.
All right.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
They should start popping in here in a minute. Get this thing rolling. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, we got 4 popping on. Yep, music will be back in just a minute. So we'll give everybody a little chance, and then you can monitor. Were y'all able to pull it up and see the comments?
Try to pull it up now.
Okay. All right. So they'll start trickling in here, and you'll see them pop up, and they'll say hello and stuff like that. So usually it'll take a, yeah, we got 12 now, so they're popping in. So they will start coming in. All right. And sometimes people will watch, they just won't comment. So if y'all can see and hear us okay, if you'll leave a comment for us, that'd be great. I just want to make sure everything's working good. Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay. I popped out a new window so I can monitor the chat finally.
Okay, yep, they're all coming in now. Here's Pop's Quest. He said comment.
Hey, Pop's Quest.
Jay Malloy, loud and clear. Keith Gregory. Yep, he can hear us fine. Mossy Nut.
That's an awesome name.
Yep, mute your chat if you've got it going, so that way it doesn't talk over. All right, Andy's here. Lil Will 2. He's here because of the Humble Marksman. He's only here for you.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. Welcome to the internet. So. Welcome, internet. We're happy you're here.
Yeah. All right, we got Civilian Arms. All right, Mr. Humble, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, man. Let's go. So really, what started this was that myself and work were chatting via Instagram on how underwhelmed we were with CZ's handgun offerings for the 2018 SHOT Show. And that kind of grew from there to the fact that we weren't really impressed with anybody's handgun offerings in all of the 2018 SHOT Show. So we're kind of thinking back and going back to 2017, trying to think about things that really made an impact on the pistol game in 2018. The only thing I could think of was the Hudson H9. It's been a while, but work, you remember anything from the 2017 show that was particularly impressive to you?
Not really. I mean, the H9 was cool. It was interesting. It was just something new. Really, as far as everybody else goes, there wasn't really a whole lot of innovation stuff going on. I mean, everybody's bringing out Mod 2s, Gen 2s, like the M&P 2.0, but everybody's just kind of modifying what they already had out. So it was fun to see them bring out new stuff last year, but I can't really think of anything that, struck me as, oh man, that's freaking awesome.
Oh. How about you?
What I was excited about, from the 17 SHOT Show is they kept kind of leaking out the bull shadow. CZ themselves did. They were like, oh, we've got the bull shadow, it's going to be ready. It's going to be ready. And, I was excited about that, the bull barrel. But then that didn't happen until officially this year. And, we had the P10, which, I think a lot of people were excited about, just something different. But really, and they were kind of, we got rumors of the compact from M&P, but, nobody knew officially if it was going to happen. That was just talk. But, that's kind of what I remember from 2017. Nothing real exciting other than that for me.
Now, 2018 was probably even more lackluster as far as pistols are concerned. The only new things that I can really think of was CZ Custom had their Bull line of pistols, which I guess is kind of cool for competition. But I mean, for a production gun, I really can't imagine how much nicer you can make a gun other than a Shadow 2. I mean, Shadow 2s and tuned stock 2s are, I mean, where do you go from there? And maybe they're a lot nicer. I don't know. I just can't imagine spending $400 $100 more for the privilege to find out. The Strike B, whatever they're calling it now, and the Caracal came back. But again, those are just basically like reboots of low bore axis striker guns that kind of came out.
The Strike B is called the Type B now.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a much cooler name, though.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and I did a little short that I got some stuff over, and I tell you, I'm underwhelmed with that thing. I mean, it's a cool pistol, and I just, for $800, I feel like you should get a little bit more. I don't know. Yeah. But I always place like polymer pistols kind of in that lower price range. Doing with CZs a lot. I'm looking at the steel pistols are usually like $600, like 550, 600. The polys are, $100 at least less than that, and they're nice guns. So I don't know. I always just kind of get my feathers ruffled when I see a Striker Fire pistol come out that's, up in like the $800 range, and it's all right, but.
Well, and if you remember, the real arsenal, the Strike 1, I mean, that's, for being a polymer pistol, that's a pretty awesome pistol.
Oh, I want one.
Yeah. I mean, they're awesome, and now if you go to buy one, they want a fortune for even a used one. But I mean, that's an incredible pistol. I know that, I've only played with them in the store and had the opportunity to buy a used one, but it was bright blue. And I was like, I just couldn't get over that, but I know that Balding Curious has one, and, he loves it. As far as this year also, there's other, like the AREX has their new race gun. I don't know, I haven't really seen that many videos on it. I don't know how great the trigger is. I don't know that much about it, but the AREX itself is a tank. I mean, I own it, and I mean, the thing works great. The double action sucks, but single action's 5.5, and but it's a beast of a gun. I mean, it shoots every single time, and when you take it apart, craftsmanship of it. I've had SIG 226s, and the inside of that AREX is, I mean, there's no flaws in it. I mean, it's a meticulously made gun.
Andy brought up a good one in the chat that I don't know how we spaced it. The SIG P365. That's about the only new pistol entry that was really something different than we've seen. I mean, it's the size of the smaller single stack guns, and it's got 10 rounds.
Yeah, but if you watched, and I know he already did it, he put it out today. Harry's Holster already got his, and he did a 1,000-round test.
It didn't
fare too well. It was actually
part of what's
surprising for a SIG.
That thing is set up, run.
He had a lot of issues.
Loads, and
yeah,
MagTech.
Yeah, well, but then he also shot the 124. And he was still having issues with it going into battery. He kept having to slam it, and it was 3 different people's perspective on the same gun. Now, one guy had big hands, kind of beefy hands, and he kept hitting the slide lock, and that was my concern on it. But then again, Poe has had his, and his has been flawless so far, but he hasn't done 1,000 rounds.
Did it seem like they were set up more for hot rounds or light rounds?
Well, they're set up for NATO rounds, man. You'd have to run some seriously hot, like plus P stuff to make that thing run, I would bet.
Well,
I tend to, in those mini pistols, I tend to want to run hotter rounds because you need to get the velocities through a tiny little barrel. So
yeah,
that's right.
I don't need to run the higher end stuff.
But when Poe did his test, he ran.
They're made for.
Yeah, Poe ran 115 grain Hellfire. He did 124 HST, and he didn't have any issues with it yet. And
Hellfire's not. I had a buddy chrono that stuff. It's tracking like 137 power factor out of like a 4.5-inch gun.
Yeah.
So it's
what feet per second is that? I don't know power factor.
Let me tell you. Hold on. Calculator to the rescue. 137 times 115. That's not right. That's about just shy of 1,200 feet per second out of a 115, and I think like 1250 is NATO spec.
What size barrel was you running out of?
It was I think this is a 4.5-inch gun.
Okay. That's still hot.
Yeah, it's pretty warm, especially for target ammo.
Right.
But so I want to ask a question of you guys because I know what my answer would be. It seems like what everyone has tried to do with all the new entrants to the market, for the most part, has been like take the Glock model of a reliable service gun and refine it a little bit more and then sell it for a little bit less.
Yep.
And so that's led to a
P10.
bunch of pistols, in my opinion, that don't have a lot of character and are really kind of samey, and nobody's really trying to push the envelope on innovation. So if you had the option between a $700 or $800 gun that had features previously unavailable versus, you know, whatever your favorite striker gun is at like $450, which way would you go on that?
Well, I mean, I'm all for innovation. It would have to have, you know, you would expect a good name behind it. I wouldn't just get some, you know, new run off the street. You know, we've kind of seen some incidents like that, you know, with, and I can only speak for KS, but with, you know, his Hudson, however, Balding Curtis is running great, you know, but that's a, you know, $1,100 pistol. But when you get into polymer, it's like, you know, I don't know. The bad thing about me is I kind of compare everything to the FNS. Okay. Now the FNS doesn't have a superb trigger, but it's got front serrations, rear serrations, steel sights, you know, metal mags, you know, and of course it's FN. I mean, the gun is bulletproof and it's got the precision barrel in it, polished feed ramp from the factory, and you can get the gun for $450 with 3 mags.
That's about all you can ask, honestly. I mean, the FNS is totally serviceable.
Yeah.
The sights are the only thing you really need to mess with.
Yeah. What else? What else? And, you know, and now Apex this year, I think in another month, they're going to have an actual Apex trigger for the FNS and the 509. And that gun really has everything now, you know, and I don't prefer the Glock angle, so it has the angle that I like. But I've had that gun for, gosh, 4 years now. And I probably have over 5,000 rounds through it. And the gun is bulletproof. It does not have the greatest trigger, but if Apex fixes that, I mean, the gun's still a winner in my book.
Almost no stock gun is going to have the greatest trigger. You know, they got to cut corners somewhere, and
sure,
serviceable triggers beats great triggers when you're trying to just get guns out the door.
Sure. Yeah, and you know, and of course it's a defensive pistol. You don't have to have a 3-pound trigger. You know, right.
It's almost better not to.
Yeah, well, you know, I like a really light trigger, and I know that I catch some hell for it. And the bad thing is, you know, kind of what we're talking about tonight, you know, with competition guns. If you shoot competition guns, you kind of become a trigger snob. If you're, you know, if you've only shot, you know, 6-pound triggers or 5.5-pound triggers, that's what you're used to, and you kind of expect every gun will have that. But you know, you can become a trigger snob. I know that Humble, you know, probably will agree with that too.
Oh yeah, there's no question that. I don't know. It kind of went both ways. I became very much a trigger snob when I was shooting a bunch of 1911s, single stack type pistols, and then when I kind of got away from those and learned how to shoot better, I'm less concerned with the trigger. As long as the geometry of the trigger face is good and it works with the back of the frame and I can pull it straight to the rear, I don't really care about the weight so much, as long as it's predictable. As long as it's predictable, I can run the trigger pretty good, and generally I'm pretty happy. But I mean, less is good. I mean, I'm good with the 3.5-pound trigger. That's probably my favorite. But I can't have that. I mean, my carry gun is a stock P01, so
yeah,
5.5,
11-pound double, and
well, hang on. Yours is an Omega P01.
Yeah,
yours is better than a standard stock regular P01. So. And it's
a stock trigger. My point is, it's got a heavy double action, but because I know how to shoot it, I'm okay with it. But
and you know, also, I mean, we can agree on double action, single action. You know, in a panic situation or a stressful situation, you know, you've got the decocker, so you're getting a little advantage there, even on the first pull. But after that, you know, you're only pulling that one time, so you want to, you know, definitely hit that shot. But after that, you're getting a lot better trigger.
The only time I ever feel my trigger in competition is when I have to focus so intently on my sights and like, okay, I got to keep them right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's never again. Like I couldn't tell you the difference in my double and single action because I never ever feel them.
Right.
But I want to ask another question. So let's kind of go through what's out there. So we talked about the subcompact segment, the P365. That did something kind of cool. It took away one of the arguments against a small gun in the fact that they were offering serious capacity in a very small package,
right?
Which is really cool. But let's just kind of define what the pistol is supposed to be doing and who it's for. And then let's talk about stuff that we might like to see that's not currently offered on the subcompact pistol. So kick it to you, Work. Who do you think they're making those for, and what are they for?
The 365?
No, just the subcompact.
Just some
stacks. It can
compact?
be single stacks or the little double stacks, whatever you want.
So when I first started carrying, I got the little like pocket pistols and the subcompacts. I feel like most of the time, most of the people who get those as kind of like a primary carry are people who are kind of just starting out. They're still a little self-conscious about printing or being seen, and because I know that's why I got one at first, was I wanted a smaller gun that wasn't very visible. Now they are really useful in situations like for a long time, my subcompacts were my church carry guns because am I a little loud there?
No, I turned you up.
Okay,
You're good.
They conceal really well. So if you're in a situation where you need to conceal really well, or you're self-conscious about being able to conceal something, that's generally where I think those things fit really nice. Like I have a Rammy and a shield, and both of those are ones that I use when I absolutely need to be able to hide my gun. I need my handle not popping out. So that's kind of the segment, the people that I think they're going after. I think that the 365 does a really good job of kind of melding what people need there. It's giving the people who carry often and kind of understand, and my picture just went all funky.
You're fine. Just soldier on bravely, man.
You're good.
It gives the people who have carried a long time and who are just carrying it to be able to really conceal it. It gives them those rounds that they need, and then it gives people who are carrying now, like who are starting off carrying, gives them the little bit additional rounds so they won't ever be caught, off guard or so. I'm really, how many rounds are you really going to use? But at the same time, there is always going to be that one person who does get stuck in a situation where they need 10 rounds. As far as new stuff that I'd like to see, I have said this in a video before, but I really wanted CZ to come out with a polymer subcompact. I really think they need to cut the P07 down and make a P05. Come out with a 10 round, 10 to 12 round subcompact in that, because I don't know about you guys. I think Big Johnson, you've got a P07 or a P09, right?
I have both. I have two P09s and one P07.
Humble,
Big Johnson has all the guns.
Yeah. Do you have one, Humble?
I don't, but I want one.
Get one, because in my opinion, that is one of the smoothest shooting poly pistols you can get. I mean, they're awesome. Now, I had a Phantom at one point, and I sold it because I'm not a big fan of them. And here's why I'm not a big fan of them, is because the recoil that my Phantom had was actually just about the same as the recoil of my P07. So my compact P07 had identical recoil to the full-size Phantom. They handle recoil really well. They are reliable as heck. The Omega triggers, I still think the Omega triggers are better out of the box, but can't be made quite as good as the standard CZ triggers. But I mean, if you're just picking up a pistol and you don't plan on doing a thing to it, I think a P07 is where it's at. And if they would pull out a P09 or a P05, what I call the P05,
Sure.
I think they would rock some stuff out.
So how thick would the grip be on that? Would it be closer to like a traditional single stack with the grip thickness of less than it? Ignore the controls. I'm sure the controls are going to make them fat.
For this one, it would be identical to a P07.
Okay, so you're asking for basically like the Glock 26 of a P07.
Yes. Yeah, I think they should. I think they should have come out with that a year ago.
Okay.
So, and then I would love for them to come out with a single stack, but I doubt that's going to happen. So that's pretty much all I got in that ballpark.
Yeah. Well, my opinion, like really small guns, and of course, Humble and I probably have the same situation. We've got pretty large hands.
Tiny curly hands.
The P07, of course, I got it here and it's loaded, but without the extended mag on it, because I always carry the +2. My hand's right at the end, and I mean that's crunching it. So even up under the trigger guard, but I love it. It shoots great. It's an awesome pistol. So for me to have a P05, that probably wouldn't work for me. However, if you were to make a single, like single action, double action, in a non-double stack or a single stack mag, maybe like a shield double action, single action, I think that would really go over well. And I know that, I know like SIG has the, what is it, the 938? That thing is tiny. I mean, I can.
Colt Mustang is what it is.
Those 938s are not comfortable to shoot.
Yeah, they're not. And, also, I've even.
But the CZ one would be.
Yeah, well, and who knows? But I've had people, like buy that for their wife as the first gun, and their wives or younger kids or younger people have never shot a 1911 in their life. So that's a safety that they might have to worry about. Where if they could make a single stack, double action, single action, they could deal with a decocker and possibly be prepared for it and not have to worry about a safety, things like that. I think it would sell really well, and I would be interested in having it because honestly, when I look at the 365 and versus a shield, my shield, I have the Hive +2, so my shield right now holds 10+1. And the 365 holds 10+1. Now, granted, it's got the smaller, slide. It's probably the same width as the shield from what I've seen with videos. But I worry about having my left thumb so far out on that barrel, I could, possibly blow my thumb off because it's shorter than a Glock, 43. And when I put a 43 in my hand, I'm like, this is a tinker toy. I mean, it's so small. So, and I've even tried gun shops this week to find a 365 to put my hands on, and we don't have any here. They're all on the East Coast. But I was just curious about it. But
there were at least 2 down in Terre Haute, Indiana.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Not sure why, but there they were.
My gun store, and I don't know that we got any.
And then going back to the P10, the P10C, when they came out with that, if you look in the owner's manual, it shows the the P10 compact or the subcompact, and then it shows a full size. And I really wish CZ came out with that this year because, I would love to have a full size, like a true Glock 17 size P10C, because I think that would be perfect for my hands. But, we didn't get it this year. Hopefully it's coming.
I feel like one of CZ's problems is the factory size. I don't know if you guys know, they have one factory.
Yeah.
I have a feeling they may have expanded a little bit because they just brought this suppressor line out, but they have one factory and they retool the entire factory every time they run a new line of guns. So that limits them to the amount of guns that they can actually produce because they always run military contracts first. And I can't blame them for that. That's where their money is. But, between military contracts, they've only got so much time to be able to run the other stuff. And the other stuff they're going to run is going to be the tried and true stuff, So I feel like they just need to look into expanding their factory because they're obviously increasing in popularity. The P10C has taken off. And since that, even the P07s and P09s, people are buying those things like crazy.
Yeah.
Even Military Arms Channel swapped over to carrying a P01. Like they're really taking off. And I hope that they're kind of seeing what they can do with the American marketplace and open up a little bit. And I think that's one of the reasons why they didn't come out with anything new is their hands are kind of tied by the size of their facilities.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
As far as what I'd like to see on the subcompacts, first of all, this is for all size guns. Stop putting 3-dot sights on guns. Stop it. Just stop it. It's the worst sighting system ever, short of, I'd rather have black sights than 3-dot sights.
Just don't use the dots.
Nobody uses the dots. They're worthless. They're terrible.
I did until I figured out not to.
It's exactly like I can't hit anything because I got the dots lined up. It's like that's not how you use
the owner's manual. It should say caution: don't line the dots up.
Yeah, the dots are dumb. So anyway, I would go with like 1 dot or the snowman sight picture.
I like the
straight
old
eight
guy sights maybe.
Yeah, I love the Heine's straight 8s. Those are like my favorite sights.
Giving us some stupid sights. Number 2, I agree that a double single subcompact, not necessarily a double stack thickness, but more in line with like the shield size. But I want the grip to be a little bit taller because I have a hard time with a gun that I can't get out of the holster with a combat grip on. Like if you get much shorter than a shield, then you're really not getting into anything that is really usable. Like, yeah, it's so small and I can hide it. It's just like, you better have your hand on that gun first because it's not coming out of the holster in anything resembling an effective grip. So
I feel like
whatever that length translates to.
I feel like the shield grip size is the perfect size because you can put an extended mag in and it brings it out just a little bit more, but even in its short grip size, you're not gonna get enough of your finger over there to pinch it when you slap that mag in. And I was really hoping I call that one the PO3. So
yeah,
okay.
But you know, I really agree with you there. A single stack hammer double action. Well, and unfortunately, Springfield just came out with that.
Yeah, the XDE, it's a piece of trash. It might as well just be a hammer. It's awful.
They beat CZ at their own dang game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have no.
I hope they don't sell any of them.
Yeah, that wouldn't be me. What do y'all think about? We do have a question from Alaskan Ballistics. What do you think about a CZ97 in 10mm long slide?
I think they should have come out with that about 5 years ago.
Yeah, they should have released that immediately. That should have been like, it's okay, it's just a barrel. We're talking about switching the barrel and maybe a second extractor. It's all the same stuff.
Yeah.
They basically hand the entire 10mm market over to Ting Foglio, and they're just like, hey, have fun with it.
Yeah. And I mean, Tanfolio is making some, the limited. I mean, they've got some beautiful guns in the 10mm. And
Tanfolio makes CZ clones is what's so galling about that. It's just like, guys, they're using your own stuff against you.
But if you look at it this way, CZ did take the Dan Wesson, the new Wrath. Have you seen it? 1911.
Yeah,
that thing,
like 6-inch 10 mil.
Yeah, that thing is freaking sick. I mean, I would love to have that. Now they're making it 9 and 10mm, but that thing would be, I don't know. I just think it would be cool. And hell, and even in 40, it'd be cool. But I think that that would be awesome to have. But then again, you're only getting 8+1, I think is what it is, maybe 9. But still, you can't go wrong with the Dan Wesson 1911 either. But that thing is awesome with that hammered finish. I'd love to have that pistol.
One thing I will say about Dan Wesson, and I used to shoot Dan Wessons in competition. I'm so sick of every SHOT Show there being like 3 new Dan Wesson models, and it's always just like, it's got a slightly longer barrel and a different finish and different grips, but it's
still a 5.1-inch barrel.
This isn't what you bring to SHOT Show, guys. This is not the place for that. Like NRA show, just trot them out and nobody cares. But SHOT Show is not.
To be fair, it's 1911s. What are they going to do that's new?
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do to a 1911, but I still love the 1911 platform. But as far as let's talk. Since we're kind of on 1911s, let's talk about 2011s. Do either one of you want a 2011?
No, I don't like the way they look. Yeah, I know it's shallow, but I just don't.
Okay. What about you, Humble?
Atlas Gunworks has come. This is actually segueing into what I'd like to see. We're going to talk about this on the other size pistols, but I don't know if anybody's watched my Glock 22 video. My buddy made a Franken Glock for competition. It has a sight block. So for people who haven't watched it, if this is my pistol barrel, typical, this would be your front sight. Well, it has a threaded barrel that sits on front with a block, and the front sight's on top of this. So while the slide is going back and forth like this, the front sight doesn't move. So Atlas Gunworks has released a sight block 2011, which is a very inexpensive way to do the sight tracker thing, like the Infinities and things like that. Do sight trackers, which is basically a little island on top of the barrel that the front sight is pinned to, and it's a more affordable way to skin that cat. And I think a lot of the manufacturers should offer a trim package on their compact and service model guns that come with a threaded barrel and a sight block. And I think all of them at this point should come milled for all the optics, not this like universal plate, but just drill and tap a bunch of holes for the most popular optics.
Yeah.
And then sell adapters for the less popular optics.
That's one place that I think CZ could improve what they're offering the customer without having to develop like totally new ones. They need to start offering packages from the factory packages, not relying on Cajun Gunworks or CZ Custom. Actually give us from the factory these different options, like a long slide version or a an optics ready version. I know they do the suppressor ready ones, and I hate the fact that they're in that stupid urban gray color. Oh, I can't stand that color. But I really think they need to start kind of separating their lines that way. Because I mean, does anybody know how long the P09 barrel is?
4.6 inches is the
Okay.
same as a 75 barrel.
So,
Unless you have
what if
suppressor
they
side.
did a P09 with a 5-inch barrel on it? I mean, that's already. I think I haven't shot one, but judging by my P07, I feel like that would be a pretty good competition gun, like production competition gun, if you don't want to get into like the Shadow 2 money. And
Well, yeah.
like
The
an extra
problem
half inch of that barrel.
to the IPSC rule set, and IPSC rule sets in production division, you can't have more than 5 inches, 127 millimeter barrel.
Mhm.
That's why the Shadow 2's barrel is 4.89 inches and not a full 5 inches. It's
Now,
why the
is
Glock
IPSC
30
the international one? Is IPSC the
International Practical Shooting Confederation. So,
okay.
backstory there: IPSC was started in the U.S. way back in, I guess, the 70s, and it was just there was one division, and everyone shot revolvers or 1911s, and it just kind of kept going and going and going that way. And then eventually there was like 2 divisions. Once people introduced comps and red dots, it became, I think it was just limited and open. Those were the only 2 divisions. Sometime around there, IPSC was truly international at that point, and then USPSA became the American region of IPSC. And for whatever reason, because we're special and we're America, we have our own rules, and we don't use the IPSC rules. So they're very, very similar, but they're not same as. So we can use Glock 34s in production division, and they can't. They have to use Glock 17s. They have a 5-pound first trigger pull requirement in production, and we don't. You can't put a single aftermarket part in your gun, including springs and pins, in IPSC. And as long as we can't see it, we generally don't care. So,
I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like on the P09, I put the compensator on the threaded barrel, and it's a long beast.
Yeah, it's a big gun anyway.
Do what now?
It's a big gun in the first place, let alone with the compensator.
Yeah, well, the compensator adds about another 1.5 inches, but it's awesome.
That Primary Machines one?
Yes. Yeah,
those look awesome.
Yeah, it shoots really nice. I really like, and it's the way that they made it. It actually is milled to shape of the slide. So they did a great job on it. It's not all big and chunky hanging off the end like a damn golf ball, but they did a really great job on it. And I've seen plenty of people running the P09s in competition, and I know that Humble had some people that got out of the old shadows and got into the P09s, and I think it's just a great gun all around.
If they had dropped an optics ready gun, I would have bought 2 of them and shot carry optics this year. But they didn't, so I'm not going to. And
that's kind of my point. Like, if they would start giving that stuff, if they would start providing those, people are going to buy them. People will buy whatever. It's probably
more likely to happen now that IPSC has adopted production optics, which is their version of it. But I think you have to use a dovetail. I'm not exactly sure of the rules, but you have to use a dovetail mount on the optic. You can't modify the slide. In USPSA, you can modify the slide to mount an optic. But, as much as we think that we're a major consumer market, like, nobody makes guns specifically for our sports. They make them for IPSC because you get to sell to everybody, where, like, there's not such a thing as an IDPA race gun. Like, nobody makes that. They're all basically service guns that have been raced out. Whereas, like, the Shadow 2 is purpose built from the ground up for production division. The TAC Sport and the Tanfo Limited are purpose built for standard division. We just get to reap the benefits in America. So
yeah, and I don't know if y'all keep up with Sphinx, but they kind of announced some stuff too. They're actually discontinuing the SDP compact, so they're not going to make it anymore, and they're discontinuing the Alpha, but they're adding a 5-inch Sphinx. So, and I'll tell you what, when I put that modern weapon kit in it, that thing is unbelievable. And it was mentioned in the chat that, like, Pistol Pete said that he would love to see like a Shadow 2 compact or a Shadow 2 smaller version to carry. And that stinks the way it is now with that kit. It feels incredible, but I would definitely love to have a Shadow 2 compact. That would be an awesome pistol. You know, even if you could make it like the P01 in alloy, and that thing would be amazing.
I think CZ Custom has a compact Shadow line that they're selling right now.
Well,
and I think there's a Bull Shadow in there now too.
Well, and see, there was pictures of like a compact Shadow 2, but, you know, some people were like, well, I don't know if it's photoshopped. I don't know if it's real. You know, they didn't know. So I'm wondering if it really is available. I haven't looked, so I don't know.
I have heard rumblings about it, but I didn't see anybody focus on that at SHOT Show this year. And I feel like if it was really released, or at least something other than just like a compact frame with a full-size slide or something like that, there would have been more people that were focusing on it.
Well, and 17 saying that CZ Custom has one now, so I'm wondering if that is. Oh, I guess he put a price of $1,049.
I think it's a compact Shadow.
I guess that's not bad, but I'm cheap.
Is that the original, you think?
Yeah, it's just a no firing pin block. I'm not sure if it's an alloy frame or a steel frame, but they've had it before. It's called like the Shadow L or something like that. At one point, I've got a buddy here locally who that's his carry gun is one of those, and there aren't very many of those kicking around. Everyone drools over it whenever they see it.
Yeah, because I've seen the P01, you know, the tricked out P01. What is it called? Like it's the CZ Custom version. I've seen that one. You know, like I think Mac even carries it. You know, the tricked out P01. But I think it'd be cool to have, you know, the actual Shadow 2 frame. You know, but just in a
just carries a P01 Omega stock out of the box.
No, he sent it off and had it all.
Okay.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
it's all. He did another video updating it.
Okay. Humble, you gonna make a video making fun of him?
No, he can do whatever he wants, man. It's his gun.
Yeah, 17 saying
part, so it's okay.
Yeah, 17 saying it is listed as the Shadow Compact. So
yeah, I can't remember how long ago they did the Shadow line, and they did an SPO1, a 75, and a compact. And we have not been able to import them, except for the only ones that we had for a while were the 75 Shadow lines, which is basically a traditional CZ75. It has aluminum grips, fiber optic sights, and thin safeties out of the box. So that would be the gun that I would want to buy. They were trying to sell them for $1,000, just like they are at CZ Custom right now for a long time, but nobody was buying them because they weren't legal in production. They got added to the production list last summer. So there's that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, Andrew, yeah, they're saying your volume's low.
Yeah. I can't change it. I think Humble can.
I've got you maxed out, man. You were near max before.
All right, let me just get super close.
There you go. Now you're better, yeah.
Is this better?
That's creepy. That's what that is. That's just creepy. Yeah. But
is there
nothing's in the microphone?
Now, Big Johnson, you're familiar with the thumb assist or the gas pedal, as it's called. Do you think that has a place on modern service pistols or concealed carry pistols? I can't see concealed carrying one. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, like on the TSO. Honestly, on the TSO, you know, I think it's cool that it's there. And I mean, and you've seen this too, where people actually cut the Glock frame out. They kind of melt it out and they'll put a little thumb assist on a Glock. I mean, I've seen that plenty of times. But, you know, like on the 1911s and on the Shadow 2, I prefer the larger safety. And, you know, it is double action, single action. And I've actually had people say, why do you have the large safety on there? Because we start with hammer down. But, you know, I use it to ride on like I did in 1911. You know, I mean, it feels really good for me. Do I have to have the thumb ramp or whatever you want to say to push on? Not really. You know, I just kind of rest my finger on it. I don't really smash it down. Again, mine is a 9mm. If it was a 40, I might use it a little more. But I mean, hell, the gun's so heavy, you know, in competition, I don't think we need it. But on a carry gun, I don't really know if I would want one on a carry gun, honestly.
I think it's a horrible idea on a carry gun or a service pistol. It's just a hang up point.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to say. I think it's a very big snag point. I mean, if you were coming out of your holster and you got your shirt hung up in it and you couldn't pull it up, or
as an example of how easy it is to get things snagged, I swapped off the rubber base pads on my P01. They're sitting on my my SP01 mags now because every time I tried to pull my cover garment up, they got stuck on there.
Yeah, the rubber with the
Yeah.
rubberized coating. Yeah.
The grips did that too, and I like them smooth. I don't really like the low snag sights much, but I feel like everything else on there should be at least a little compact and a little bit streamlined to be able to get it in and out easy. Because reholstering is almost as important as unholstering is.
Yeah.
What about
And, you know, like going back to the gas pedal thing, you know, Pop says he likes his on his TSO, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but you know, like when you got gorilla fingers, mine really needs to be a little more forward. Like on the Tanfo, you know, it's got extra holes so you can move it, and then on the TSO, you know, it kind of only goes in one place. Now they make an extended one, and they have another one that's moved up, but it's like I think it's like 95 or $100, and you know. I just kind of rest my finger on it. I think maybe if I had shorter thumbs, maybe I'd really smash down on it, but I don't know.
what do you think about?
Hey, Humble,
Yeah.
really quick, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
just hit 2,000 subs.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Well done, sir.
They gave me a
Look at
crown
that.
in chat. Y'all are gonna got it for
wait, I have
Humble
to-
now and forever.
I have to pay for this? No, I did not get that memo. I'm out. See ya.
So I'm curious about red dot sights. Like the more I play with target focus shooting, the more strength I see in a red dot sight, because if you're using a red dot sight correctly, you are focusing on the target and just moving the dot to where it's supposed to be as you stare at the target. And
Yeah.
I notice when I'm doing really good shooting, it's usually because I'm staring intently at the target and just observing where my sight is relative to where I want to hit.
Yep.
So I'm starting to warm up to the idea of dot sights. And
I like the
if
idea of dot sights with backups.
with backups.
With a co-witness setup, I'm all for that. I mean, if it were to ever, you know, if you dropped your pistol, shattered the glass, if your battery just took a crap or shorted out, you've always got something to fall back on. I would not want, and you know, really, as long as you had a front sight, I agree that, and I've done a lot of it in the past, it's just point shooting. You know, if you've got a target coming at you, I think we would all be okay with that. I would just want something on the gun, not just totally skimmed off like I would, but no, I'm all for it. I mean, I think red dots, and you know, to be honest with you, when I first started shooting a red dot way back when I had my M&P core and it was the ported one and all that crap, you know, I had a Trigicon on it, and to be real honest with you, I didn't give it enough time. You know, I was kind of all over the place with it when I first got it, and I was like, you know, and I kept finding myself not looking at the dot. I kept trying to keep looking at the irons through the window, and it just was a cluster for my head. However, I've shot 7-ups, and man, that thing's a freaking tack driver. You know, once I got more used to it, you know, as I got older, I mean, it's just like you throw that red dot out there and bang, bang, bang. I mean, I was hitting stuff from way far away. Yeah, I'm all for them.
I think they're cool, but I'll probably never have one because, as anybody who's seen my channel knows, I'm cheap.
Yeah, my plan was, if they had dropped the optics ready CZs, was over the next couple years build up a couple PO9s with dots, one for training and one for carry / practice, or excuse me, one for training and one for matches / practice, or matches / carry. And then in the background, build up a PO7 Roland Special. And a Roland Special, for folks who aren't aware, there was some dude on, I think it's Light Fighter Tactical, who had a pseudonym of Roland. Put a compensator, slide ride optic, magwell, and a weapon light on his Glock 19. And that was the Roland, or is the Roland Special. And the whole thing is the compensator helps combat muzzle climb. All the weight from the magwell and the light combats muzzle flip. And the dot makes shooting really easy, or easier, I should say. So,
yeah, 17 just sent me a picture of that 75 Combat they're calling the Shadow, and it is built on the non-Shadow 2 frame. I don't know how well y'all can see
that's an
that.
aluminum frame.
Yeah, but it does look pretty damn nice.
It does.
I mean, we'd have to change those grips out though.
I'd take one if they gave it to me for free.
Yeah,
Do what?
You can call lock
I'd
grips.
take one if they gave it to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, hell, I think CZ's due to send me a commission check.
Look at my pretty custom grips. Oh, you can't see them. Come on, light. Play
Back a
ball.
little bit.
Let's
The
see.
light's too white.
It is. Let's give it some
Or
shade
the
there.
grips are too
I can do
white.
it. Oh well.
Yeah, no, they look cool.
There'll be a
It'll
video
be
that comes out on my pretty new grips that look like
Yeah.
just white grips right now. You too can own white grips.
Yeah, and then I've got these. Those are pretty crazy.
I'd love to see those under a black light.
Dude, they look awesome. I've got a picture I shot. It's pretty crazy. They look like they're glowing.
Just open carry that to a roller rink. It'd be awesome.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna wear a boa. I said my next competition I'm wearing a boa.
I think that's a good plan.
Yeah. Like Johnny, not the bedazzled glasses. That's pushing it too far.
Oh,
But
Johnny.
yeah.
He's awesome. I really enjoy his
He
gun
is.
drama.
I love how much crap he gets from like the bigger channels. Like I guess Yankee actually gets in a feud with him. And hey, good. Brings more subs to him.
Yeah. No, I'm a big fan of gun drama. I look forward to those videos on Monday. He's a hoot.
Yeah. So if you could have the perfect, let's just say if you could have the perfect CZ carry gun, maybe you already have it, but if you could have the perfect CZ carry gun, what would it have on it, and what would it be currently that they make now?
This with sights that don't suck.
Okay, PO1.
It's a PO1. Now
Okay.
I'm running. I gotta move because it's loaded. I'm running TFX Pros on it.
Yep.
Big mistake. Hate them.
Okay.
The front blade is just gigantic, and we don't have like super. We were just talking about this the other night. We don't have great options. I did look. I think I'm gonna end up getting the Dawsons that hold your breath Cajun Gunworks sells. But
No, don't.
those are the ones that you got the wrong size, right?
That's the one. Yeah, they put a combo. Just get them from Dawson because they have that replacement. If you don't like it for free,
I
they'll
looked
switch
on
them.
Dawson, and they don't have the same front sight.
Well, oh, that's right. You want the night sights. Yeah, no, those are different. Yeah, don't get the fiber optic set from Cajun Gunworks.
No, I wasn't playing. I'm getting Fiber's SPO1, and that'll come straight from Dawson. But now I did have a question. I don't know if anybody in the chat knows this. Are the Dawson sights that Cajun Gunworks sells, the night sights with the nice big white front?
Yes.
Are they set up for a PO1? Because I know that
they say they are.
But they're set up for a PO1 and an SPO1.
Yeah,
like
that's
so be both.
Yeah, all right. Then I'm getting those. Anybody want a pair of TFX Pros?
CZ Custom makes good night sights as well. You pay
right,
handsomely for them, but
how much are they?
Like 140 for a set, but you can get a high vis ring on the front sight. I like that.
Yeah, no, it sucks. Don't buy those. They're horrible. It's a smaller dot than the standard dot size on the front sight of an SPO1 Tactical.
Yeah, and CZ on their P10s, they came out with their new night sights for the P10, and the front has a little orange ring on it. And I actually saw them in a store. So I was holding a P10 with the new night sights on it. Man, that orange is so freaking tiny.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, wow. I mean, I was pressing it out, and I was like, that's pretty small sights.
I will tell you at this point what I think our only hope with good night sights is. XS just came out with a sight system called the F8s. It's an iDot style with the large front dot, similar to the. I know Humble's not going to be happy with this. The HDs. It's got a little bit larger dot. It's not big, but it's big. Yeah, it's not, but it's not as big as the big dot front either. But it's a standard notch in the back, and I'm really looking forward to. I hope they bring them out for CZ.
I've been looking, and they haven't yet.
Not yet, but they make big dots for CZs, and I'm hoping that they kind of. I got a video.
I sent Mariglow an email saying you guys should make sights for CZs. They're really popular now, and I used to really like your sights when I was shooting Glocks.
Yeah.
But,
Well, and I've got those on my Sphinx, and I don't prefer the big dot. I've got the standard dot, and actually, it takes like the day I was shooting the Sphinx, we had been shooting regular dots all day, and then I went to that, and it took me a second, to tee it up the correct way. I kept holding it a little low, but once I got it, it was no big deal. And of course, if I trained with that gun and that was my main carry gun every day, it wouldn't be an issue. They're more for up close and personal. We know that.
Let me ask. Let's go back to your question on a perfect carry gun, not a current offering, but let's nail down some specs if you had to.
Okay.
So, of the form factors that we've got basically a subcompact, a compact, obviously full size service, and then long slide. I'm going to go ahead and take a long slide off the table and just leave it there.
Okay.
So I'll start. I would prefer a 4-inch barrel compact for an optimum carry gun.
Okay.
Big J.
I would say best all around would be a 4-inch for best all around.
Okay. Work.
Yeah, I'd stick with that as well. I like 3.75 to 4-inch. I'm not going to be a stickler about having to hit that 4-inch, but getting in that range, I think you go up to the 4.5 and you're getting a little bit, you're getting huge. You drop below that and you start significantly losing velocities out of your rounds. And 9mm, especially, well, I carry 9, and that round you have to get the velocities out of, or they're just not going to perform. So I think you're right on in that 4-inch range.
So how long is the grip on the pistol that we're talking about, this hypothetical? So for reference sake, a Glock 19 has a 5-inch grip, whereas a Glock 17 has a 5.5-inch grip. A PPQ's 5.5. Full size CZ is 5.5. I think that the 5-inch that's on the PO1 is a little bit short. I'd like to see like 5.25, probably somewhere a little bit more than what's on a compact, but not a lot more.
My girly hands fit a PO1 and a 19 perfectly. I actually have apparently standard European size hands because the finger grooves on my Gen 3 19 are perfect.
There you go. It was made for you.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think that
and carved it out of wood just for you.
Like I said, we'll put it this way. If I had to, carry like a Glock 19 size, I could always put an extension on it, so that could add the length that I really prefer, kind of like I do on the PO7. Can I shoot the PO7 with a flat base plate? Yes. That's just not my preference. If I don't have to have that, I would probably like that extra 1/4 inch or at least a 1/2 inch maybe, or perfect.
Okay, so how heavy is this pistol? So a typical Glock 19 pistol, a Glock 19, I think, is a little light. I think that 23 ounces is not enough.
Yeah.
I honestly prefer the weight around 30 ounces, 30 to 35 ounces. I feel like is light enough to handle well, to shoot well, rather, but also not heavy enough to really kind of feel like it's pulling your pants down, because like 1911s fully loaded with 45, that's going to pull your pants down if you're not wearing a really, really good gun belt really tight.
The PO1s, I believe, are 29 or just under 29. And that, for me, like that's getting on the heavy side for me. I like the more kind of low end, like the PO7, the Glock 19 size at the 25 ounces or so.
Well, the PO7 is only 1 ounce less than a PO1. But
the Rammy is 2 ounces less. That's why it never gets carried.
Yeah. Like if I had to pick the perfect carry gun right now, and honestly, I carry the PO9 all the time. I love it. But, just to fit every role, it would probably be the PO7 as it is now. It shoots great. It's the perfect weight for me and perfect capacity, and it's double action, single action.
So if you could make the controls, right now you've got ambi controls. You've got a single side slide release. And honestly, if you're a lefty and want a slide release on both sides, you're a jerk. Just deal with it.
Yeah.
Hear that, Andy? Ah, my buddy in the chat is a southpaw.
There you go.
The guys who shoot left-handed, who are like grandmasters at high levels, like they all ignore it, even on the guns with ambis. They got so used to using their trigger fingers to drop slides that they prefer it. And I probably would too if that were my thing. But the one thing I don't like about CZs with ambi controls, even though I really like my P01 Omega, is that the ambi controls add considerable girth to the gun.
Yeah.
I think that it should be a single side that you could swap to either side, and I don't think you can do that. I think they all have to go in from the left side of the gun if you're behind the gun.
Yes.
Um,
I wish the Omega line had the option to delete the ambi side of it, because I mean that's an extra, and the Omega controls, especially on the PO7 and the PO9s, are, I mean, they're rather thick. They're about 3/16 of an inch. So just cutting that one thing off would drop the size of that thing considerably. Because otherwise, it's a good sized gun.
I think reversible was as good as we did. Like this whole ambi craze that's coming through. I mean, I watch people malfunction on their guns with their stupid ambi controls. Like the new guys who are really excited about their guns being fully ambi. And I've got a buddy who is on DHS, like the direct action teams that do like sting operations on child porn stuff. And he was talking about the guns that they were potentially adopting, and he was really upset that all of them had ambi controls, and everyone in his unit was screaming up and down, including the one left-handed guy, like, we don't need ambi controls, don't get us ambi controls.
I think the ambi control drive comes from this last military trial that went on, because that was one of their things they had to have. And I think it was one of the things that they had to have because they're bringing people in who have never shot before. So they're teaching people from scratch how to shoot, rather than grabbing people like us who have been shooting for a while, or like my buddy who's been shooting for a while with the just standard left or right hand controls, makes it work, and now he's used to it. You know, they're having to go from, they're not having to, they're going from scratch. And unfortunately, I think they're going to be teaching these people to the point where they get out into the field and they can't do what other guys did and just pick up any gun and use it. What is that?
Yeah, and see, this is my new patch.
Ooh,
Pretty awesome, huh?
I like it. Hey, I'm from Generation Snowflake apparently, so watch out.
There you go. Okay, now I know Humble has the PO1. You have the PO1 and the PO7, correct?
Yes.
Okay. In your opinion, and Humble can't have this opinion yet, but in your opinion, when you are shooting your PO1 versus your PO7, which one do you shoot better? You personally?
That is a really hard question.
I know, but I'm getting to a point here. And give me your honest opinion, because I don't know what you shoot better.
Right now, probably my PO1, because I shoot it more.
Okay.
If I had equal preparation with both of them, I'm not sure. I really don't know.
Okay. Now, I'll give my opinion, because I've been asked this a lot. You know, like subscribers have asked, you know, even friends, you know, and I can flip that. If I had the PO1 Omega, that might be different, because I've got big fingers, and that hook, if I shoot my PO1 a lot, I'm talking, if I just stand there and run 50 to 75 rounds through it with just, you know, I'll have all my CZ mags loaded up and I'm just going to town. The hook on the PO1 on the non-Omega actually punches into the bottom of my finger because of the hook. It just, where my finger sets in it, because it's a big finger. Where on the PO7 with the Omega trigger, I never have that problem, ever. It doesn't even phase me.
I will say that that's one place that I really wish that the aftermarket companies would come out with, with some new product, is some new trigger shapes. You know, we've got like the combat trigger,
85 combat, and you can put it in a PO1. I know I can.
I've got one in my SPO1, and to me it is better. I do like it more, but I just feel like there's a lot of space in there that they could flatten that trigger out a little bit and give us a little bit different geometry. I've actually thought about heating this up and trying to move it a little bit myself, but then
an external modification, sir. Welcome to open class.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And you know, like, and I know Humble and I have talked about this before, like people who take Shadow 2s and they put flat triggers, and, you know, for all the Instagram photos and all that kind of stuff, you know, I was, because I love a flat trigger. I do. But of course, like he was saying, it'll put you in a different class. But, if they made just say they came out with like a Shadow 2 and I don't know, a Shadow 2 Plus or something, and they were able to change, a couple of things on it, that'd be cool if they had another trigger offering. But I really like the 85 combat trigger. It's probably one of my favorite. But that small hook, I call it the fish hook because it's just small to me. It just really irritates my finger under a lot of shots. So I'm in my PO1 and my SPO1. I'm definitely going to put the combat trigger in it. I mean, I've got to at least have that.
Is the Shadow True trigger the same as the
Same,
standard 75?
Same one you just put up. Same one you were just talking about. It's a combat type.
Okay. I'm
but
surprised they don't try to do something different.
But it feels good because it's a little farther back.
Yeah.
You can. I mean, I get my palm, the palm of my finger on it perfectly. Now I could hook it if I wanted to. I could really wrap it in there. I mean, I've got big old hands, but it just the placement of it, with resting my thumb on the safety, it just really works for me. I just really enjoy that trigger.
I feel like trigger reach is probably my biggest. That's probably the biggest thing that throws me off on which one I shoot better. If trigger reach was better on the PO1, I would shoot that gun better than the PO7. I just small little hands again.
Yeah. And I like both. I like both the guns. Don't get me wrong. I really do like the PO1. It's a great shooter. I think if I just had, like somebody said, put 10 shots as quick as you can with the PO1 that you have currently and your PO7, I do shoot my PO7 better. I do.
My Omega trigger is kind of the best of both worlds, and it's absolutely everything to do with the shape of that trigger. It's better than any of the other CZ75 trigger shapes that I've felt, and I can shoot it as accurately as my Shadow 2s. Not necessarily at the same speed because I don't have the same sight set up, and I shoot by the speed of sights. But I think if I did get better sights on my PO1 with the fiber front, that I could probably close the gap a good bit. But yeah, I'm much more interested in the P series guns once I realized that the magic for my PO1 Omega was the shape of the trigger. So if I can make that framework in my hand, and I believe that I can, I think I'll definitely be interested in.
Yeah, and I think if and I know you and I have talked about this, off of YouTube personally, and I mean, I think the PO7 and the PO9, the way they're set up, are really great guns. And I know that 1776 has the Phantom, and he really enjoys that too. And it could be maybe he really likes that hook in the trigger. And I think that's just where hands and fingers and differences in the way people hold a gun or pull a trigger is going to be the big difference there. I mean, the Phantom is not a bad gun at all.
I will say this for the Phantom. It feels better in the hand than the PO7 and the PO9 do. Now, I still hold that the 07 and the 09 handle recoil a little bit better. I think the reduced slide weight, I think the classic CZ design didn't transition to polymer as well as the specific polymer design did. Yeah. But, I mean, it's still a badass gun.
Yeah. I mean, and I've said this before, if I, say if I, went for a defensive carry class, if I just went and shot IDPA, for me, IDPA would be go-to gun would be PO9. It just would. And I could still turn that over into a PO7 because they're basically the same damn gun. One's just longer in the grip and the barrel. I just think those guns just fit my hand so well, and the triggers. I just love them. Now, granted, you can take the Phantom and use your standard 75 mags where you can't with the PO9 and the PO7. But, hell, if you have the P10C, then, all the mags fit for the P10C, PO9, and PO7. Of course, your PO9s are longer. But
I tell you, if CZ, they were smart enough to make the mags the same, why the hell are the sights different?
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they just want to, and also, if you ever call CZ, what's really crazy, and I'm sure you'll have, and you said, I want new sights for my PO7, because I was going to order night sights for the PO7 and the PO9. And the first thing they ask you, which I think is the dumbest question in the world, what is your sight number? And you go, huh? Well, if you look at the front of a P07 and a P09, they'll have like a number 3, a number 4, a number 5. And I'm like, why the hell do you have so many selections? They're like, oh, they come off different areas.
Can you see that there?
Yep.
Number
Yep,
5.
Yep. See, and even look at your front post. On the front post, on the P07, it actually said a 3 or a 4 on the front post. Yeah, you see yours is a 3.
Yeah, this one's the P07 site.
Yeah, mine were number 4s. And, you know, it's like, why would you have that? And they said, well, the slides go through different machines and they cut differently. So we have to have different. I'm like, you could sum all that up very easily, but you know,
that's part of their issue that I was talking about earlier with the fact that they have a new setup every time they run those pistols. So if you buy a P07 now and if you buy a P07 in a year, they're not gonna be the same gun.
Yep.
They'll both still be great guns, but they're not going to be the same because they've got that variability of the different times, the different machines.
To that point, I used to have 2 Shadows. One was built in 2009 and one was built in 2014. The frames were appreciably different. The 2014 frame had a higher undercut under the grip tang, and it was relieved more under the trigger guard. And the 2009, which was the first year they made the SP01 Shadow, I believe, it didn't fit as well. It didn't fit my hand as well. Like trigger reach was a little bit better, and it was just more comfortable on the 14 model. And the checkering on the front and back straps to the guns were different. One of them had like a chain link type pattern, and the other one just had dots like linearly set up.
Yeah.
So it was different.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, and you know, I kind of throw that back to cars. I mean, you know, anytime they have a car, they can have, you know, you can have a super session of something different, you know, that they add to it or take away from it, and they think something's better. And of course, you could probably tell on your newer SP or your newer Shadow that, you know, they tried to implement some changes that could be better for people. But, and I think with the Shadow 2, and I mean, you can probably relate to this, you know, and I mean, when I grabbed that gun and got the first one, I was excited as hell. And I mean, I think that gun, they pretty much, I mean, they hit it out of the park with that Shadow 2. I mean, what's your opinion now? And I know your opinion, but some of the subscribers might not know since you shot the Shadow original one so long. What is your opinion now of the Shadow 2 versus the Shadow 1?
Oh, it's a better gun, like no question. Everything about it's better. The trigger is better. You don't even need to polish the trigger. The old, if you pick up an SP01 off the shelf and run the trigger in double action, it's going to be a little bit gritty and kind of heavy. And that's the way all of the original Shadows were that came into the country. I don't know if it was an agreement between CZ and CZ Custom, but for a long time, you could not buy a standard Shadow. You had to buy a CZ Custom Shadow. And what they would do is take all that grit out of it, polish up the internals so that it was, you know, smooth as butter. And the CZ Shadow 2s all basically come squared away from a polishing standpoint out of the factory. Like they have reasonably good to very good double action triggers, and their single actions are pretty good out of the box. Like you really don't need to modify them unless you just want to drop the double action weight. That's really all you need to do to those.
What's
triggers.
the single action weight on those? About 4 pounds stock?
They were like 3.5 pounds on both of mine. They were 3.5 pounds in single action. And you could drop that further if you swap the trigger return spring on them to the reduced power one, but I don't like those because it makes the reset kind of weak.
I prefer a 3.5 pound trigger. Like that's right at where I want my single actions. For double action, single actions.
Well, let me ask another question. I've already kind of seeded the chat with this and building up to it. So Ruger has sent out surveys because they're building a competition-specific gun. A competition-specific gun. So they're asking for what specs would you like to see. Now they made a mistake because they made it IDPA centric and sent that out first. Whereas, I mean, the reason I say that that's a mistake, not crapping on IDPA necessarily, is because IDPA competitors are generally more casual. Like most USPSA guys have 2 or 3 guns that they compete with that are the same gun. So if they made it for production division, it could port over to IDPA, and they would sell more probably initially if they optimize it to USPSA. But that said, so Mr. Work, you've got all of Prescott, Arizona at your fingertips. What are you making for the competition segment?
I would, going off of what we were talking about earlier, a little bit longer than 4.5 inch. So I'd go like the 4.8, 4.9 size. So basically a shadow, too. No, I don't know. I wasn't really reading the chat at the time, so you kind of caught me off guard. Let's pop over to.
Yeah. If for one, Ruger would have to come out with something pretty special, for me to just go, oh wow. I would be wanting to see, a 5-inch barrel, which would, like the P09 size, with a great trigger. And if they're going to go steel, they would have to determine if it's going to be steel or alloy, for weight, to try to make sure they're going to make the weight. And of course, capacity, if they can get it at least 17. Okay, but I guess we need to get down to, the bare facts. And I know that Ruger makes very nice, they have very nice guns. And trust me, I'm not blogging on or beating up on Ruger, but where do you think they would have to make this, or if they were to make this gun, what price point do you think it would come in at?
I think the Bursa Thunder XT or whatever that they had for like $700, and it came with 5 magazines, and a good trigger and good sights out of the box. Like that's what they would have to do to capture a market segment. Like sell it for the same price as like a Glock 34. So if it's like a $650 gun, but it comes with 6 magazines, and good sights.
Isn't that kind of what Canik or Janik did?
Yeah,
kind of like
But for that gun, I'm telling you, and I've shot that gun. They really needed, if they were going to square it away with what we would probably be looking for, they would have to really get that muzzle down, because the way that gun was balanced, all the weight was in the rear. It was right above your hand, so it was really flippy on the front end.
The
and not
slide
saying
size
that,
on those is huge.
Yeah, and not saying it's a bad gun. I mean, it'll do what you need it to do. It's just something that, I guess going from what we're used to into that, I think if they came out in alloy or they came out in a steel version, with a really nice trigger, just like what you said with the Bursa, and if you remember, Humble, way back when, I literally almost pushed the button to buy that gun, that Bursa, and we kept talking about it and stuff, and with the, if I ever had to get anything to fix it, I might run into issues there, but I tried the trigger on it. It was really nice, and the price point was unbelievable on that gun.
I think if they made a gun in, obviously it's going to have to be 9mm initially anyway, because that's going to cover the most ground as far as competition is concerned. That's going to get all your 3-gun guys, IDPA, USPSA production guys, carry optics. So I think at a minimum, they're going to have a really good trigger that wouldn't make, if it is a double single, that can be converted to single action only, or it's such a good striker trigger that nobody is going to want to tinker with it too much.
I think they'll go striker.
You think there'd be a striker?
Yeah,
I think
probably would.
I think somebody should make another freaking alloy framed striker gun. That would be awesome.
And they very well might.
I think they would go polymer. I think they'd go polymer. I think they'll go striker. I think they'll probably stick to like the 4 to 4.7 to 5 inch barrel range. This is just what I think they'll probably do. They'll probably bring it out. They do a pretty good job of value, so they probably will kind of take your thing where it's not only the gun, but like a package. So maybe they'll give you 3 or 4 magazines for what you would consider a premium price, and probably fiber sights.
Probably, and probably 3 back straps, 3 or 2 or 3 backstrap choices. I mean, I think it's something they could dabble in and then just see how it goes. Some people are going to want double action, single action. Some people are going to want striker fire. There's so many choices. We know this from, seeing all the different guns out there. you know, with the lineup, I mean, like if you're really looking at a really great lineup, I mean, honestly, just look at the high-end Tanfos. I mean, you know, especially with their new P match, you know, and I know Humble and I have talked about this. They're all polymer freaking race gun. I mean, the thing's out of the box. You can get the single action, and I mean, it's ready to roll. For like what was it? Like $5.95. You know, you can get it 9, 40, 45, or 10 millimeter. I mean, and it's got the mag well, everything ready to go out of the box. I mean, I think that's a really nice gun, and I don't know how Ruger could bring something into the marketplace right off the bat that's going to blow everybody's socks off unless they legitimately copy someone. I mean, just flat out say, we're going to make it just like this gun.
Like Harry Holster's got a good option there too, with the partnering with the holster company to make a decent carry.
I think they should go further than just holsters. I think they should partner with like Dawson Precision and have Dawson make the sights out of the box. And I think that they should. Dawson makes really good Glock base plates. They should contract with Dawson to make all their magazine base plates and then sell it as a premium with their model. So if you wanted to buy like the $500 version of the gun, you at least got the Dawson sights. You get cheesy plastic base plate and maybe only got 2 or 3 magazines, or you could buy the $800 package, which is ready to race for production division. It's going to come with your aluminum base plates out of the box. It's going to come with 6 magazines out of the box. It comes with a Blaytech holster pouch that you could put straight on your.
Going along those same lines, get magazine holsters too, and a belt, because that's a competition style belt is a really hard thing to find. Like if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, so if they would pair with bring out a whole competition package and have the extra magazines, the holster, the magazine holsters, the belt, all of that. Basically as a, hey, you're interested in going into this competition stuff? Here you go, $700. And
should it come with the gun, or should it come as an extra? So if the gun's like $500 and it comes with 3 magazines, if they sold you a belt and 3 extra mag pouches or 3 extra magazines and all the mag pouches you could need for it as a kit, so that's all in like $800.
Like an add-in, maybe like a nice range bag or something.
They could call it they could have the standard setup and then additional for an extra price, the pro package, you know, where it just comes with everything.
You will shoot Grandmaster the instant you take this out.
Hey, there you go. That's all you need. Humble as a Ruger, and you're good to go.
That's what I need. That's
done. Rage to master.
Money on ammo.
Yeah, well, you know, like Pops Quest is saying here, you know, he's got $1,000 in his Glock 17, and it's a piece of shit. You know, I mean, but you know, that's where I go when you're talking about polymers, and not that they're bad, because shit, we know people shoot Glock 34s and, you know, do well with them. But if you look at the big picture of most of the shooting, you know, everybody, it's, you know, it's steel guns or, you know, potentially an alloy gun, you know, something with a little more weight. And hell, they make, you know, some of their higher end 1911s are really nice. I think they could probably come up with something that's going to be like, you know, like SIG's real X series, not their, you know, not the polymer one, but their real X series. You know, those are freaking nice ass guns. I mean, they're really nice. And if Ruger could jump into something like that and hit the correct price point and maybe offer extra mags, or even like if you buy this gun, you know, for this price, you get a voucher for 3 extra mags or whatever. If they could do something like that, I think that it would be a good seller. I really do.
How would they dislodge the existing? So the biggest thing, if they launch a new gun, it is going to be a new gun, and all of the new guys who get into competition shooting are going to come to the match. They're going to look at what guns the guys who are at the top are already shooting and just buy those guns.
Yeah.
So how do you cross that bridge? Because I mean, if you ask me, if you come up to me and say, "Hey, I really want to shoot production division, what gun should I buy?" My answer is going to be one that you really like, but a CZ or a Tanfo is a pretty good choice.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I would say too. But, you know, it depends. Like I said, if they're going to get into this market, they can't dabble in it. They can't just wade in the pond. They need to pick a good platform, which, I mean, CZ and Tanfo are a great platform, and they could very well clone something after that. That's where I'm kind of going with this. I see them picking out a gun that is like the top, and, you know, like CZ and Tanfo, and copying something like that throwing a Ruger name on it, but at a lower price point to try to capture people for a lower price point, but still trying to offer a great trigger and, the same type of setup where you could change the grips on it if you don't like them. I see them going right after copying somebody. That's if they're going to get in it. I think that's what they're going to do, or they would have to do.
What if it was an alloy frame? It weighed 35 ounces. It was an alloy frame where the slide rode inside the frame.
Yeah.
And it was not hammer fire, but striker fire.
I think somebody needs to do that. I was so pissed when the P10 came out. And it was
yeah. Well,
like
and
I
honestly,
saw that, I was like, you made a Glock. Why?
Yeah. Well, and I was expecting it exactly what you said. I was expecting it to have its, integral slides and be a true CZ. And when I saw that, I was like, what the heck? But I got my hands on the first one in Texas and did a video way back when, I couldn't, it was a law enforcement edition and they had the first one. And I guarantee you the trigger on that thing was butter. But I found out later, those were the first ones and they made them really light, etc. And then people that were reviewing them were actually saying they were too light. And I was like, what? And so they stiffened up the trigger because the ones that were actually released were not that light. And I was like,
I heard that with those versions of that, they had a lot of areas where they cleaned up. Mag releases, slide stops, triggers, everything cleaned up a lot the more you shot it, which I hate that. I hate break-in periods.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm going to say a phrase that I absolutely hate. It is what it is. But,
yeah. Well, you're exactly right. We don't build them, we just shoot them. And of course you run rounds through them and you expect them to get better. Some guns do, some guns still kind of stay stiff,
Yeah.
But this P10 original one, I checked the mag release. It was really soft. It's almost like they finally tuned this gun for the first release, or, it was like they really just went all out with the trigger and the mag release. This thing was butter all the way around. And then when it came out, it had a stiffer mag release. It had a stiffer trigger. It just wasn't the same gun that I felt.
How many rounds did the gun that you handled have through it?
No, this was a brand new gun.
Okay.
This was the first. They only released 5 of them, from what I understood, 5 of them into the United States. And this dealer, it's called Saw Gunworks. They're one of the largest CZ dealers in Texas. So they got one of the first ones. And it was set up as a law enforcement sale only, but I could have bought it, but they were trying to sell it to me for $1,200. And I was like, what? This is a $500 gun. But they were going against the grain. But this thing was really awesome. And I wanted an FDE, and this one was a black version. So
you settled on an Urban Gray?
No, I haven't. I haven't gotten one yet. Matter of fact, I really like the new Urban. Well, I do like Urban Gray, but the new Urban Gray P10 that they showed this year at SHOT Show with the threaded barrel and the suppressor sights it looks really cool. But do I need it? No, but interested in it definitely.
Okay, well, we're coming up here on the 90-minute mark.
Yeah.
Any kind of closing comments? Kind of winding down here. I think we covered about as much ground. What can we recap? What are we missing? It sounds like we needed a single stack hammer fired gun.
Yep.
We want better guns, not necessarily like a new $500 service pistol, but something legitimately that will perform better in some kind of way, whether it's sighting or hell, it could be ergonomics, that they come up with some fancy new material that lets them really tailor and sculpt the frame to fit a human hand really good. Maybe that.
There's all kinds of things that, it's just, like some manufacturers, they just do one little bitty thing. They're like, oh, we added this, so this is the new best thing in the world. I think if some manufacturers really looked at who is soaring or what's really taken off or what people are jumping on, like even with the stippling, the 2.0, of course, M&P, came out with the compact and everybody was wanting the compact. Then they came out with the aggressive stippling on it right off the bat. And people just were like, God, I've been waiting for this kind of gun forever. You know, even the P07s and the P09 really need more stippling, in my opinion. But I think they just need to look at what's selling, like what everybody's jumping on, and kind of take notes of that, not just keep going down the same old road.
Yeah, but if they do that, they're just going to make more P10s and P10 variants and.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, that's probably, there's some truth in that, but you know, it tends to be, you know, people gravitate towards, you know, like think about YouTube. I mean, God, we see it all the time. You know, there's a new gun coming out, and a YouTuber grabs it and makes videos on it, and you know, everything goes crazy over it. You know, and I do like with the 365. I like the kind of difference that they came out with having a small pistol with 10 rounds. I mean, that's a big deal. You know, if it proves to be a solid all-around gun and really performs, I actually see more people kind of trying to jump onto that bandwagon. You know, other manufacturers, at least as an offering in their platform.
Yeah, I think that's a segment where CZ's lacking big time. Ramy's the only subcompact they have, and as I said, it's 2 ounces lighter than a P01. I never carry it. I own one, and it never gets carried.
Yeah.
That size, that form factor of the Ramy is just weird, though. I mean, it's like a little brick. It is not enough weight below your belt to keep it like securely in your waistband. But at the same time, there's not enough grip to get it out of your waistband because it's got like this much grip.
For a subcompact, it shoots like a dream. But
if you can get it out of your belt.
Well, tiny girl hands.
Yeah. I can only hold the Ramy I can really only hold it if it has the extended mag in it. That's the only way I can.
In which case, it's the same size as a P10 or
exactly.
a P01.
Yep, exactly.
By the way, Pops, don't mention the 19X again. We don't talk about that.
Hold on, this just in. I found pictures of Mr. Johnson shooting a CZ Ramy.
What? Me shooting the Ramy?
That's right. Here it is. Ready?
Great, isn't it?
Here it comes. There it is. There's Mr. Johnson shooting the Ramy.
I was gonna say that's me trying to hold the Ramy. Yeah, that thing is tiny.
They are. Well, and it's tiny without any of the benefits of a tiny gun. You know, it's still super wide. It's still super heavy. Like, why do I even, honestly, I have asked myself this many times, why do I even have it? Yeah. If they came out with a what I call a P05 tomorrow, I would buy one, and there's a good chance that the Ramy would get sold.
Yeah. That's what I said. If CZ came out with a single stack, double action, single action, I'd buy it in a heartbeat. I really would. I would, just to have it. You know, I would still probably. So I would still care. I'm sorry?
In the chat, what would you buy? What would it take? What would you have to see from the handgun manufacturers for you to lay out another $500 or $600 this year to buy a gun? Bad Billy says the H9 is a pile of crap. Or he said,
but hell, Balding Curious loves his. And you know, speaking of the H9, do you really think the aluminum version or the alloy version does anything for you?
I think it would make it a carry option, but
and see, my Life Choices said the exact same thing that I've said. They said would rather have the Hudson make a flawless H9 rather than pumping out 2 more variants. That's kind of where I was going. They're already coming out with a threaded barrel and the alloy version and all this other stuff.
Did they hiccup that much?
Well, no, and I mean, like, Balding Curious hasn't had one problem with his. However, KS did. So it's that thing with the 365. You know, Harry's had some issues with his, and Poe hasn't yet. So I don't know. I mean, they could be hit and miss.
Hudson's still a pretty small manufacturing group, aren't they?
Exactly, and that's what I said. You know, I think every manufacturer on a new gun introduction, like the P10C and the 365 and the Hudson, you're going to have some growing pains on the first edition out. I mean, I firmly believe that. So that's why, you know, now I'm pretty much not just jumping on the brand new gun until it's kind of proven and we've seen videos and we've seen real people, not shills. We've seen real people shooting them.
It's like buying a vehicle the first year that it's out. You
Yep.
never buy the first model year.
Yeah, a brand new production one. Yeah, if it's a whole new model change, yeah, you kind of go, eh.
Yep.
Now you've got a good warranty, and you also have dealers nationwide. It's not like you can walk in with your pistol and go, here, fix this. No.
Yeah, the shops they don't like that too much.
Yeah, you can't carry just a gun in a shop and hand it to a guy.
A lot of not my problems with those.
Yeah. I didn't build it. I just sold it. I didn't build it.
We do have a good shop here in town that'll actually help you out, take care of, like, contact the seller and everything, but it's not a thing that most shops do anymore.
Yeah.
Can't walk into your farm and fleet and get that done.
Yeah. Okay. You want to go ahead and close your part out? Got anything coming up?
I just finished my my SPO1 series, so I don't have anything super good coming up. I got a SHOT Show review coming up tomorrow. It's a long one. It's like a 20-minute video.
Okay.
And I don't like long videos. Like, I try to stick to like the 10-minute and shorter ones, but it's a long one. But really quick, like, I just want to say, generally my channels, I haven't watched Big Johnson's stuff too much. I know Humble stuff is more kind of competition based. Mine stuff is more reviews. As I've said multiple times, I'm cheap. So if you're looking for cheap variations of things, pop on over. I've probably looked at it, or especially with CZs, like side options, stuff like that. I do a lot of how-tos, a lot of reviews, trying to get more into the in-depth how-tos, hence the SPO1 project. I tore this guy 100% down to the frame, Cerakoted, did put some nice internals in, got some really good results out of it. Ended up with a 7.5 pound or a 7 pound double action and a 3.5 pound single.
Cool.
And yeah, and it turned out freaking awesome. So everything except the sights so far.
So just out of curiosity, what price do you have into that gun with everything?
So I think I paid about $575 for it after tax, about that after. So let's say $580 after tax. Probably $145 or so in parts and components, and $65 in Cerakote.
That's not bad.
And since I did all the work, I tell you, the thing that frustrates me the most on looking at all of these groups is when people just send their stuff out. This is stuff, like, a lot of this stuff you can do yourself. And that's kind of what I try to get people to see is, I mean, I tore this thing down to its bare bones, put it back together, and ended up with pretty much the same results as people who send their stuff out for good. So, like, for just, have somebody do it for $200. So, yeah.
Well, make sure that you do put a comment, type a comment into the subscribers so they can subscribe to you.
All right.
So they'll go onto your icon and subscribe to you. And what I've got coming up is I got some more stuff in the mail today, so I will be introducing that. Got some more gun review stuff coming up and gear, so that's kind of where I'm headed, and some more gun versus gun. That's about what I have. I've left comments, so if anybody's on here that hasn't subscribed to me and would like to, please do. And I definitely enjoyed being on the chat with you two guys. Thank you for inviting me, Humble. And, I don't know if you're going to continue to do this regularly or if it's going to be kind of a, as it comes deal, but, definitely send out the alerts and everybody will jump on and check you out.
For sure. No, I appreciate you guys jumping on. I don't know. I'm not necessarily thinking it's going to be a weekly thing, but definitely whenever a topic really strikes me and I want to have a panel discussion, we can certainly fire one up and get it going. Can definitely see doing some competition centric stuff going forward. As far as what I've got coming on, y'all probably don't know because you don't watch it, but it's not gun reviews. It's just me trying to make Grandmaster this year. So that's a whole series that's going out.
Yeah.
And then I got my custom grips that look like white grips in this lighting, but you can see that tomorrow. That video will drop.
Yeah.
And just some other kind of range. I'm focusing more on my shooting. I'm trying not to buy any guns. I'm trying to learn how to shoot the ones I got. So after I do that, then I'll buy some guns.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I need to do.
I do have a gun purchase hopefully coming in this next, I mean, it's probably this quarter or so. I got a plan. So
Cool.
but I'm not telling anybody what it is. And it's not a CZ.
Ooh, uh-oh. We
I
can't talk about it on this chat then.
I know. That's why I can't go any further in depth.
Yeah.
It's not a Glock. So there's that.
There you go.
It's a 19.
Well, all right, guys. Everybody who came in the chat, I appreciate you guys coming in. It's good to see everybody. Subscribe to Mr. Johnson and subscribe to Bald and Curious too, because for whatever reason he didn't get the update. So if you're not already a subscriber of Bald and Curious, subscribe to Bald and Curious. Now, obviously, Mr. Johnson, subscribe to him as well. And if
Matter of fact, everybody on the chat,
Bald and Curious has your hookup.
Yeah, everybody on the chat that has their icons there, other subscribers can go on and subscribe to them there too. You know, we try to spread the love around. So, but
All right,
yeah,
guys.
thank you very much, guys, for having me on. I really appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity. It's always fun to interact with you guys, and you know, I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah,
All right,
thanks,
guys.
thanks
Have a
a
good
lot,
evening.
Humble, for setting this up. It was fun. This is my first live chat that I've done. It was a blast.
Yeah, it was.
And thanks everybody in the chat, because it's kind of fun watching you guys talking about stuff that happened 2 minutes ago and trying to remember what I was saying.
There you go.
All right,
Well, y'all
guys.
have a great night. I appreciate it very much, and y'all carry on.
Take care, guys. See ya.
Thank you much.